The goal is deconstructing without departing. We want to travel back in time, let people tell their stories of the things they've walked through so that we can help people who are moving forward in time without making mistakes. It's okay to ask questions. Take your time. Hello, thank you for joining us at the Renovating Faith podcast. I'm so excited that you've joined us. This is our first episode, and I wanted to take a few minutes to share with you about the goal for this podcast, introduce myself, introduce the direction we're going to go, and kind of our mission in this endeavor that we're pursuing right now. First and foremost, my name is Jeremy Williams. I'm an assistant pastor in Middle Tennessee, and as well as being an assistant pastor, I happen to practice the Torah observant walk of faith. This show is not about that, nor does it come from that approach. But rather, this show is to help people work through questions, work through hard times, and that's really brings us to our name, Renovating Faith. Jesus compares our faith in Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. It says, "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a sensible man who built his house on the rock. The rain fell, the rivers rose, and the winds blew and pounded that house. Yet it didn't collapse because its foundation was on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and doesn't act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell, the rivers rose, and the winds blew and pounded that house, and it collapsed, and its collapse was great." Here, Jesus compares our lives to houses. And with that, he talks about the building up and the struggles of life that come. And anyone who's been a homeowner, or even really if you've rented, you'll know things happen. There's leaks, there's plugged plumbing, there's lightning strikes that cause things to happen, and there's renovating that has to be done to our houses. And the same goes for our home, our spiritual lives, our spiritual homes, if you will. There's going to be times of renovation, and sometimes those are very easy. Sometimes it's enough that you can just plunge out a toilet and everything clears up, spiritually speaking. And sometimes it's like a busted pipe and there's mold and rot, and you find that you've got to take everything down to the studs and even pull up the subfloor. And sometimes even you may even find that your foundation is cracked. And so that brings us to the byline of our show, Deconstructing Without Departing. There's a movement in today's Christian world where everyone seems to be deconstructing, and it feels like the loudest voices are the ones who are leaving. And so our desire is to highlight the stories and the experiences of those who've gone through levels of renovation, maybe even full-on deconstruction, but they didn't leave. If you want to hear about all the people that got mad and left the church, there are so many TikTok and YouTube accounts out there. This is not for that. We want to bring in people who have they've gone through hard times. They've gone through the abuse. They've gone through the emotional traumas. They've gone through maybe even physical traumas, but their faith stood firm and they found a reason to hold on. And we want to highlight those stories and bring them to you to encourage you in your time. You see, Paul praised the Berean church because they searched the scriptures. They went through and they verified. And you're going to find that there may even be times when doctrines in your life, things that you thought were foundational and core values get shattered, or they're questioned, or whatever the level may be. And what we want to do is help you build a proper foundation for your faith that can then grow and blossom into a home that will weather every storm. And so that's kind of our goal. And this was all born out of some friends of mine that over at the church split, and we're going to come back to them in a second. Will Hess and Brian Bodie have dealt for years now with people deconstructing and leaving, and they've had to do public rebuttals, they've had to do Q&As with people, they've had debates with people, they do a lot of private counseling with people, and they have really been in the mud, so to speak, with people who have left for one reason or another. And so seeing that, and yet knowing that they also deal with people's questions, and they've done an incredible job helping people be able to renovate or reconstruct and get rid of the junk without leaving the basics and the foundations. And they've done just an incredible job. And so I wanted to, as I looked for a need, I really felt that we needed a place where people could come tell their stories. But even more than that, where we can find good teaching on healing, on forgiveness, on the processes of time, on good ways to go about this renovation process. Maybe you're feeling the need to deconstruct, but you're scared that it's going to mean you're going to walk away because of how loud those other voices are. And we want to give you a healthy way to do that and help you walk through those stages, as I've had to do many times. And you see things start to shift, maybe what you believed and doesn't seem to line up with scripture, and you're questioning how deep is that rabbit hole going to go. And we want to help you understand that it's okay. It's safe to do that, and you don't have to worry about leaving the faith. There are so many people who have gone through the same things, and that's what we're really trying to highlight. And then, of course, bring helpful ways to you to go about that process. So this brings me to kind of the last thing that I wanted to talk about, and that's going to be our format. The show is going to be broken up into 5 episode increments, with every 5th episode, episodes 5, 10, 15, and so on, being specifically focused on teaching. That may be a sermon that I preach at church. That may be from a Sunday school series. That may be a sermon that someone else sends me and is like, hey, you need to hear this, and I think it's beneficial, and I get permission, and we can turn it into an episode. I'm actually got a few ideas where we're going to try to bring in some guests to just focus on the teaching side of things, on good things to do for foundational, for building, for studying, whatever it may be. Every 5th episode, we want to highlight something positive that you can put into your life that will help you through this process. The remaining 4 episodes of each section are going to be highlighting people's stories, whether that be my story. Will and Brian will be on. I've got a few exciting guests coming on, and maybe you want to share your story, and I want to encourage you to reach out. We'll put a link where you can get in touch with us in the show notes. And so if you're saying, hey, I've gone through some hard times, I've gone through some deep valleys, and really my faith was shaken, but we were able to walk through it and come without departing the faith, and you want to share your story so that others can be encouraged, we want to be the platform for you to do that. So please, if you're interested, click the link, fill out that form, and we'll be in touch. And then lastly, the first 4 episodes, so this one and then episodes 2, 3, and 4, are going to be very introductory. The next 2 episodes, I will have 2 very special guests that I mentioned earlier, Will Hess and Brian Bodie from the Church Split, to come on and talk about the things that they've seen. They're going to share some of their story and give some hints and things that they've seen that are good, consistent starting places, whether that just be a goal, whether that be things that they have found that are rock solid, things that they've seen in counseling people that have been consistently good places to start your renovation process. And then episode 4, I'm not going to give away who it is, but it's going to be a very special guest to me, and you're going to get to know more of my story through that episode. And so I hope you'll tune in for that. So the first 4 episodes, this episode plus 2, 3, and 4, will be very introductory, talking more and diving more into the mission and goal of the podcast, what we're hoping to accomplish, things that we want to do, really highlighting the need that other people have seen for this, and then closing out with my journey, and then a very special time of teaching in episode 5, something that I really feel the church is failing in. And I was able to address this recently. And so that's going to be a very important time of teaching for many. on the nature of time and the nature of healing. And then starting right with episode 6, we're going to have some stories shared, some things, and even some more teaching throughout those episodes. I've been able to bring in a lot of people so far to talk about key aspects that are very foundational to our faith, and we want to highlight those people and those teachings, as well as share those people's stories as well. So I hope you'll stick around. I hope you'll tune in for episode 2 with Will Hess from the Church Split. I'm excited. I've known Will for almost 10 years now, and I'm very excited to have him on the show. He had me on the Church Split a while back, so we're able to reciprocate that. And Will is someone who, when I looked at starting the podcast, I texted him and said, do you think this is a need? Do you think there are people that would want this? And he said, absolutely, without a doubt. And I'm very grateful for Will's friendship, for Will's teaching. Will has helped me through a lot of hard times spiritually, and just helped me to learn how to read the Bible and to think critically in my reading, and to think outside my own echo chamber. So I'm very grateful. I hope you'll tune in next time on episode 2 as we bring in Will Hess from the Church Split. But until then, as you start your renovation process, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine on you and be gracious to you. May he turn his face toward you and give you peace. Thank you for listening to the Renovating Faith podcast. If you are interested in sharing your story, please click the link to the guest form in the episode description. For more content from Renovating Faith and to be alerted when we upload new videos, please subscribe to one of our podcast channels. For merchandise, visit our store at renovating-faith.creator-spring.com. Please join us again next time on the Renovating Faith podcast.